So after a brief return home for 4th of July, I'm continuing my week in the Sierra with a trip up to the golden trout lakes of the Cottonwood Lakes and the John Muir Wilderness. I'm doing something a little different than what I normally do. I'm going to stay at one of the lakes, one of the actual Cottonwood Lakes. Typically I stay someplace a little bit quieter where there aren't as many people. But with the snow conditions and the high streams and everything else, I figured I would just stay on the lakes. I'm carrying less gear than I was in the Emigrant. I've had some good beta from my friends. There's not as much snow up there, or there shouldn't be as much snow. It should be pretty wet, but not as much snow. So I left my my snowshoes at home. I've got 2 days less food. It's 3:30 in the afternoon, so I'm really only going to be here for a night and a day, and then I'm heading out. So I've got about 2 days worth of food, which is, only about 2 pounds. So I've got my smaller bear canister with me. This should be about a 3.5-hour hike to the first lake, and then I think I'm gonna stay at lake number 3. There's a small grove of trees there on the hill. I'm hoping that'll be clear of snow. Relatively dry because it's on a hill. It's been, I don't know, maybe 15 years since I've actually stayed at that particular lake. I fished the area quite a bit, but not camped in that area. First off, I'm at 10,000 feet, so a little bit harder to breathe up here. But there are a series of 10 or 13 lakes. There's the Cottonwood Lakes, which everybody knows. It's the chief brood stock for the golden trout for the state stocking program. They basically come in here, grab the golden trout from here, and then drop it all over the Sierra. So it's it's a well-known spot for golden trout. So there are 6 Cottonwood Lakes, and then you've got the South Fork Lakes, you've got Long Lake, you've got High Lake, which is the highest of the golden trout lakes. You've got Muir Lake, which used to have golden trout in it. Actually, my first solo backpacking trip was to Muir Lake. Now, even though the trailhead starts in the golden trout wilderness, the lakes themselves are part of the John Muir Wilderness. All the lakes have golden trout, as I said, except for Muir. And the number and size vary from lake to lake. Some lakes are not as popular as others. The Cottonwood Lakes themselves are really popular. Now the trail is mostly rolling with a sort of a long pitch to get to the first lake, and then after that it just sort of meanders. So I've come to the first creek crossing, which is South Fork Creek, and it's filled with tiny goldens. It's actually where I brought Vita to catch her first and only golden trout. This is my first view of Cottonwood Creek. Been hiking for maybe an hour and 15 minutes. Now I've come to the second creek crossing for Cottonwood Creek. Sure, this place is going to be lousy with mosquitoes. I've already been bitten a couple times on the trail. Okay. Now, if I remember correctly, this starts the pitch up to the lakes, and from here it's pretty much completely all uphill. No wood fires, camp 100 feet from water, don't cut switchbacks. Words to camp by. Now you can see how fortunate we are in the Sierra. You know, our trails are pretty well groomed. So, you know, kudos, and I'm very thankful for the conservation crews that come in here and maintain most of our trails. They are a bit sandy, which I suppose is crushed granite, which is why I'm always wearing the mask, and which is why I've been given the name Trail Bandit. If I didn't wear it, what happens is I breathe in all the trail dust, and by the end of the day, my lungs just close up. So I've got some albuterol to make sure that doesn't happen, but it's just easier for me to wear the mask. So I've reached the switchbacks. From here I think it's about a mile to Lake One. And just as I thought all the snow had melted, sun cups. Yay! I'm almost to Lake One. Should be just over this rise. From there are two trails. The trail to the right will actually take me to my campsite faster, but I'm gonna go left, which will take me by all the lakes, and that way I'll be able to, you know, get a lay of the land. What do you know? A marmot. I don't know if he just doesn't see me or what the story is. Lots of marmots out today, and there are two, but I've managed to arrive. 6:21, that's Lake One. I'm going to follow the trail along Lake One, but I'm going to end up pretty much over in that direction, straight over this bluff. This is Lake One. It's a pretty good fishing lake. It's fairly shallow on the other side, and you can see over here by the inlet there's quite a lot of reeds. So fishes well. It's got good insects. Above this rise, straight ahead, out in that direction, is Lake 2, and I'm headed over here to Lake 3. I've come to the creek just above Lake 2. I'm gonna walk along the creek up towards my campsite, which is up that way. I don't know if you can see a bunch of small fish holding in the creek there. That's Lake 3 up above, and Lake 4 and 5 are at the top of that that little chute right there, center frame. I've arrived at Lake 3, which in my experience is a good lake for beginners. You can catch lots of small golden trout here. And now it's getting dark. 7 o'clock almost. I need to hightail it to my camp. Well, I found a good campsite, and from the look of the a rope in the tree, it looks like somebody's used this site to hang their food. It's a really good site, with the exception of it's at the top of the bluff. And if a storm comes, I don't know if I want to be at the top of the bluff. I did find my intended campsite, but there's somebody camped really close to it. Okay. I'm pretty sure this is my spot from 10 or 15 years ago. It's got a nice eating rock there, and a nice tent site, some rocks for drying stuff out, fallen log to sit on. I don't have anything leaning my way. Somewhat protected, not quite at the top of the bluff. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. There's some folks all around here, but I'm not hearing them. So I can see them, but I can't hear them. So that's a good thing. Well, my home away from home for the next 2 nights. The temperatures have gone way down. It's only about 30 minutes of light left. I've got to eat real quick. That's where I'm stashing my bear canister. I usually don't stash them too far, because bears are typically going to be afraid of us. So if I come out and start making noise, and I've never run into a bear here. Tonight's dinner: salami and crackers. No cheese. The cheese I had went bad from 2 days at 2 days in the Eastern Sierra, so I tossed it. Forgot my napkins, so I'm going to have to use toilet paper. Fortunately, I've got more than enough toilet paper for 2 days. Wow, so they must be having an aftershock down there in Southern California, because I'm having an earthquake right now. That was wild. Never had an earthquake at 10,000 feet before. Now, I know that 6.4 was in Kern County somewhere, and the Kern Valley, Kern River, is literally just over the pass over there. So there's this bluff, and then behind that is New Army Pass, and then where I go up tomorrow, up that way, is Old Army Pass. And so on the other side of this range is the headwaters of the Kern. So yeah, I guess I'm fairly close. Man, that was wild. It was a roller, and it's just a weird sensation when you're up in the mountains. And it rolled for a long time too. So as I stand here brushing my teeth, I see all these charred out logs. Maybe I've pitched my tent in Lightning Alley. I think we're gonna have good weather though. Well, it's morning, and it's warm. It's really, really warm. The sun hit my tent about 6:30 this morning, so decided to get up a little bit earlier than I normally do, and I'm already changed out of all my sort of warmer warmer morning clothes into my my day clothes. So kind of happy that I wore this. This is a thinner wool shirt than I was wearing in the Immigrant, but the temperature difference, it's easily, I don't know, easily 10-15 degrees difference in the morning at 7 a.m. here than it was in the Immigrant. So the plan is to head up to Lake 4 this morning and hope there's nobody there. There are a lot of people here. So if I get up there and my preferred fishing spots are taken, I'll probably just come back down, fish below Lake 3, and if that's taken, then then I'll go down and I'll hit between lakes 1 and 2. Yeah, I'm kind of whispering because like I said, there's a lot of people here. So I'm gonna go ahead and eat breakfast, and after that, there's really not much to do. I'm already halfway dressed. So I've pulled all of my gear out of my pack, and I'm just bringing my fishing gear, trowel, water filter, and I picked up this thermocell for mosquitoes. I've never used one. I don't know if I'll need to use it up there, but I'll bring that just in case. I've never seen so many marmots here. So that's where I'm going, to the right of that cascade. Is that better? You can see the fish better, right? Just a tad bit of ice on Cottonwood 3. So, all underneath the snow is the creek. And up ahead, hopefully, there's an opening where I can get down into the creek and fish. That's Old Army Pass up there. And I believe the way the trail goes, I believe it goes up this way, and then along this ridge, and then over. Oh, it's nice and high. It's a nice pool in there. So I'll be able to fish this. Let's check out a little bit further. So what happens is you got the runoff here. The fish are hanging out right in here. Now, what I've found the best thing to do is, if you want these fish, is go over here and kneel, and then present your fly through the current. That's what I found is the best. But there should be some decent fish in here. Yeah, there's one. Wow. Yeah, that's a good fish. Let's see if I can lighten it up. Okay. There's a fish right in there. A couple of them actually, that are decent size. Okay, so there are a bunch of fish in there. There's a good fish down in here. There's another one right over here. There's some back there. And the question is, do I target the biggest fish first, or do I target the fish in the back first and then work my way upstream? I think I'm going to look for the biggest fish and then cast to that one. A bunch of them seem to be about the same size though. Anyway, first order of business is to put on a new leader. I'm fishing. Oh, that was nice. Oh, maybe I should put on a dry. I wasn't gonna put on a dry. I'm fishing a longer rod than I normally do. I brought my Sage LL, which is a 9-foot rod. It's a 5-weight, and I brought it because I was hoping to actually do more lake fishing. Denny Rickards convinced me to buy his intermediate sink tip line for lake fishing, and that's a 5-weight. So I brought that line, thinking that maybe on Lake 1 I could fish that. What I should have done is I should have brought. Ooh, that's a good fish. I should have brought my 8-foot rod for the streams, and instead I've got two 9-foot rods. Hopefully the length doesn't spook them. Fishing behind these folks. Now I just looked at my second rod, and it's actually an 8-3 rod. So now the question is, do I want a longer rod with a faster hook set, or do I want a shorter rod that's gonna be a little slower? I think I'm gonna go for the faster rod. Okay, there are about a half dozen fish in there, one of which seems to be bigger than the rest of the fish that I'm seeing. I'm gonna toss it in there and just pray that the big fish is aggressive enough to take my fly. And just as I've said that, a big fish from down below has shown itself. And I'm here for big fish, I'm not here for numbers. So I'll try for that one first, hoping I don't spook the ones above. And then I'll go for the ones above. If I go for the ones above, I'm sure I'll spook the ones below. So since there's a bigger fish right in here, I'll try for him first. Okay, so I can't see where that fish is. And because of that, the plan is to, from the edge of this snowbank here, I'm gonna dap my fly along that brush. I'll probably lose it, but whatever. And then try to play the fish kneeling and stay back so I don't spook these guys. Yeah, as soon as my rod went over the water, I started spooking fish. And the big fish that I wanted moved into the bushes. When they disappear like that, it often makes you wonder, like, where do they all go? It's amazing how many fish can fit under one small rock. And I hooked a small fish. Okay, so I've hooked another small fish, but pretty nice. Finally a better fish. So it's getting crowded over here. I'm gonna rest these fish and head downstream a little bit. Now there could be really big fish in here. The challenge is getting in and out of there. Getting in without spooking them, and then getting out at the end of the day. Some nice fish right up by that rock. It's a little bit deeper than I'm used to seeing it. The walls are a little bit higher. Not sure I'm going to be able to get in there. Okay, it looks like I can put in right there and wade my way up to the rock. I'll work this area here until I get to the rock. Now this is a beautiful representation of a golden. See the power marks on the side. And here's something else that you see here sometimes. Sometimes these fish are really, really dark. The water's a little stained here, and I'm having to watch the fish basically take my fly. They're taking it very lightly, so I've got to have a good idea of where my fly is and then see a fish move for it and strike. Well, that was fun. I picked up 2 of the 3 fish that I saw in that initial hole, and picked up a bunch more. Nothing of any real size, but you know, maybe later in the day the big fish will show themselves. I'm gonna get out and warm myself up, because wading in that water is super cold, and I didn't put in any long johns or anything. So I've moved back to the upper part of the stream. You see these folks are still fishing, but the fish have moved back in, and there's some big fish in there, so I'll give it another shot. Finally. So I seem to be catching a bunch of these 12, 13 inch. So it's a little crowded, but I went ahead of upstream of, or up the bank from this woman, and really hammered some fish. So much so that you can see this fly is completely shredded. And it was still catching fish. So before I head down to 3, one last look. So I'm making my way to the outlet of 3, which is where I wanted to fish, and of course there are 2 guys fishing it. So I fished behind those guys, caught a couple fish, but I didn't see anything, you know, worth sticking around for. And you know, I don't generally like fishing that close to people anyway. So I followed the stream down to Lake 2 to see if there are any fish in there. There's some small fish. I'm heading over to the creek on Lake 1, which is down there. And I come down to Lake 1, and there are 3 guys fishing the stream. Beautiful fish from the stream. So it's 3:12, and I think I'm going to head back to the trailhead. I've been giving a lot of consideration to this. Originally I'd planned to stay until Saturday, and today is Saturday, mostly because I hate dealing with the holiday traffic on Sunday going back to the Bay Area. And I don't know, I fished everywhere that I wanted to fish, at least as best as I could. This place is just littered with people. I've never seen so many people here. So there's that. I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I mean, if I get up tomorrow, fish for a couple hours, and then head back, it's going to be a 10-hour drive in traffic. And I've caught a mess of fish. I'm not seeing the big fish that I expected. I caught a couple that might have gone 14 inches, but on my last cast, I managed to hook and release unintentionally a fly that I had lost when I was fishing earlier. I cast it out, I brought it back in, I'm like, okay, I'm done fishing for the day. I brought it back in, I'm like, I've got 4 flies. And so it was my rig that had broken off. That was a big coyote. I guess marmot's good eating. Okay, it's 4:10 and I'm ready to blow this popsicle stand. If I remember correctly, there's sort of a shortcut right back over that way. It'll be mosquito infested, so I'm wearing my jacket, but should cut easily 20 minutes off of my time. It's 4:30, so that should put me at the car by 7:30, which would put me home probably about 3 o'clock in the morning. That's where I'm going. So I just counted all the people that I saw today. 52 people that I've seen in the last 24 hours, or since I got here. Plus 1 coyote, 10 marmots, and probably 3 dozen fish. One guy even made a comment to me that there were so many people, that tomorrow morning he was going to have to race to the good spots, so he could be the first one there. And frankly, that's not something that I want any part of. I don't know if I'll ever come back this time of year. If I do, I definitely won't camp on the Cottonwood Lakes. I'll pick my normal campsite. Basically all uphill from here. It's 7:15 and I'm back in my car. My clothes are all changed and my pack's put away and I'm ready to go. It's been an interesting week. Full of new and interesting experiences, highs and lows. Yeah, it's been fun, and thanks for coming along with me.